Chattanooga's changed. It's a different city. It has a different feel about it. And so that's why I keep thinking with Jailhouse Studios is why not here?
It started as a theater.
Chattanooga's changed. It's a different city. It has a different feel about it. And so that's why I keep thinking with Jailhouse Studios is why not here?
It started as a theater.
Audio. All right, ladies and gentlemen. We call to order our recess meeting on March 11, 2026. Madam Clerk, roll call, please. I know, I jumped the gun while they're working on it.
Commissioner Baker?
Here.
Commissioner Beck? Commissioner Chauncey?
Here. 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 Thank you. Our invocation and pledge will be by Commissioner Helton. Could y'all please rise?
Thank you, Chairman. Today, I don't see Mr. Frampton here, so I believe, today our invocation is going to be by Ed Frampton of the International Board of Jewish Missions. Excuse me.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, it's with great gratitude that we come before your presence this afternoon. Your word reminds us of who we're speaking of and our responsibility, Father. In Shema Yisrael, the Lord our God is one Lord. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, thy mind, and thy strength. You are God, the creator of heaven and earth. And there's nothing too hard for thee because you have created heaven and earth by your great power and stretched out arm. So, Lord, we ask you, Father God, that you would give us your grace and even forgiveness this day. Lord, your word reminds us, Father, that our frame is of dust and we need you, God. We are desperately dependent on you. So, Father, we pray that you will give us, Lord, a cleansing of heart, Father, even today. Father, renew a right spirit within us. I want to thank you, Father, for each one of the commissioners here today. Bless them, Lord. Thank you for their willingness to serve this county and the people of Hamilton County. Thank you for how you have equipped them for this task, and we pray that you'll give them great wisdom. We desperately need that. So many issues and so many things happening today, Father. We pray that you will give wisdom that's needed, godly wisdom, wisdom from you, from your word, from what comes from above. And therefore, on this day, we bow our hearts to you, O God. We ask you to give the wisdom for the business of this meeting. We pray that no matter how seemingly small or insignificant it might seem, Father, that you would give us your will, and it will be done here on earth as it is in heaven. Finally, we thank you for the continued freedom, God, especially the freedom to pray in these meetings. We especially ask for your divine protection especially for the young men and women in our military who right now could be in danger. We pray that you'll bring peace, God, your peace to these areas. And may our lives and our homes, God, in this great county, Father, will it be a reflection of you, Lord, your character, your holy character, your peace, your love. And oh God, we pray this in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus our Messiah. Amen.
If everyone would face the flag, render the proper salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good. As it can be. Madam Clerk, I'm showing 0 recessed agenda items, correct? All right, we'll now adjourn the recess meeting. We'll go into our March 11th agenda session. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker,
here.
Commissioner Beck,
Here.
Commissioner Chauncey,
Here.
Commissioner Eversole,
Here.
Commissioner Graham,
Here.
Commissioner Helton,
Here.
Dr. Highlander,
Here.
Dr. Mackey,
Here.
Commissioner Sharp, Commissioner Shipley,
Here.
Chairman Smith.
We have 0 no presentations this afternoon. So next week, we'll be looking at minutes of February 25th, 2026 recess meeting, February 25th, 2026 agenda meeting, March 4th, 2026 regular meeting. We will also have 3 reports to enter into the record next week. That takes us down to resolutions. Madam Clerk, let's get started with 326-12, please.
Resolution 326-12, a resolution to approve and accept applications for notary public positions, the bonds and oaths of notaries previously elected, the oath of office of commissioners of the Northwest Utility District, and the oath of member for the Board of Directors for the Hamilton County Railroad Authority.
All right. You know what? Let's move on to 326-13, please.
Resolution 326-13, a resolution making an appropriation to Hurricane Dugout Club in the amount of $1,000 from general fund travel discretionary monies as allotted to District 7.
No lights. Moving on to 326-14, please.
Resolution 326-14, a resolution to revert the time of the weekly meetings of the Hamilton County Board of Commissioners to 9:30 a.m. on Wednesdays.
Commissioner Shipley.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'm bringing this resolution because I think it's the right thing to do. We said months back we would give this a chance. I have not seen the increase in the amount of people here. In most cases, I've seen a decrease. Looking at the crowd out here tonight, many Hamilton County employees in here. I do see some of our people back from District 9 and 10. Glad to have y'all back. First time I've seen you in a while. But normally they were here in the morning, and they were always here. You could count on me. They were like clockwork. They brought a lot to the table, but I haven't been seeing them. That shows you right quick. If people's got a problem, they're coming. And there's something on there tonight, they're coming. They will come at 9:30 in the morning. They will come at 4 o'clock in the evening. They will come 2 o'clock on Sunday if it's an issue that affects them. So that's why I brought this resolution. I'll stand behind it, that it's the right thing to do. It's costing taxpayers about $3,100 more a month, holding county employees over every evening. If you move it to a later time, you're going to have a bigger spend, more cost, because you can't cut these people's pay off per hour and start them back. So I'm going to stick to my resolution and stay with it. That's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Eversole.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner Shipley, I I appreciate you bringing the conversation back up. I can't support this resolution. Matter of fact, I would support us doing it later than the 4 o'clock. When I brought this resolution back to this board late last summer, number one, I thank each one of you for saying, let's give it a shot, let's give it a try. And I think we've seen some improvement and some not. And some not. It really does depend on the items that are on the agenda. But I think we can't forget how I look at it is I don't do this for me, I do it for the citizens of District 10. And when the folks in District 10 and the emails I've got from even folks outside of District 10 say, we want you there at a later time, I've got to be there at a later time because that's who I work for, is those folks. And I think taking it back to 9:30 in the morning for me is not the right thing to do. And I think I've heard it loud and clear for many months now that we need to have these meetings later. So I would go for a later time. I would even entertain switching the night. I know Wednesday night's church night, and I would not want to interfere with Awanas and people of faith going to church. And I would entertain looking at a Thursday night, and I think there's different options that we can do. And I'm kind of curious to see what, because I have the privilege to see all the lights that are kind of the Christmas tree that's lit up here, but to see what other conversations. But I'm just firmly, I cannot support us going back to 9:30 in the morning. Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Baker.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Eversole about everybody giving it a shot. I think that's good. Everything I've read, I've got a lot of emails. It's all about keeping the hours later. I would agree with 5 o'clock. Maybe even consider twice a month. We could do both agenda and regular meetings at the same time. That would be a follow-up, I guess, regular meeting and then an agenda to follow that. I would consider changing the day of the week to support the people that this would impact their Wednesday evening service. So yeah, I'm open. But I do feel strongly about not going back to morning. I just think that's not as convenient as we can be in not only District 10, but all the people of Hamilton County. It should be, I think, made available to. Thank you.
Commissioner Highlander.
Thank you, Chairman. I too, like Commissioner Eversole, I've had quite a few emails, phone conversations, texts from people that work and say, Commissioner Highlander, I'd love to be there, but I just cannot get off until later. I hate it for our staff. I truly do. And I'd be open to going twice a month. I made an initial possible stretch that we could do our agendas in the morning and then have our meetings in the afternoon twice a month. That didn't go over too well. I would support, not for myself, but I'm doing this for my constituents and for the citizens, not for me. And I know many years I was a public school teacher and I was never able to come. I thought school, I had to be in school. I could not take off for that. I would say this, if we do go to 9:30, I will plan to make an amendment that if we have a really important item coming up, whether it's budget or whatever, that I will request of the chairman that we move to an evening meeting if it is voted in the morning. I will go make that request. But I would like to see, for the sake of the constituents, I would like to see it in the afternoon, in the evening. And I would like to see it go away from Wednesday night. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Beck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last time I made a long speech on how the framers of our government set in place this meeting time. And for over 40 some odd years, it's been all right. And suddenly it's all wrong. And nobody seemed to, somebody said that they hated for the staff. Well, I'm more than hated for the staff. In the wintertime, the staff has to go across the street. We haven't always had the security that we needed. 2 or 3 people's husbands have to leave home and escort their wives away from here. That's the staff. That's where my heart is, because I've been here with you so many years, and I know where your heart is. I'm talking to staff. So I wholeheartedly support this, and I'm not a lifeless person, and I don't respond to a handful of emails. I know a lot of people would like to change a lot of things, but the framers of this time period did a great job, and it's always been all right. Now, we're trying to fix something that's not broken, and we have a whole lot of suggestions on how to fix it. And we may have 11 suggestions on how to fix it. And we will never get it fixed right. But it's already working. And so I wholeheartedly support leaving it alone, just like most of my people have said. And if they want to, like Commissioner said, if there's an issue, they will show up even on Sunday evening. So I'm going to second that motion when it comes up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was waiting for the audience to stop with a remark. I am torn between that. I very much want to help the staff. I very much want the staff to be safe in the wintertime, especially when it gets dark so early. One of my constituents was sitting in this meeting just the other day, and she recommended that we do 6 months in the morning and 6 months in the evening. That way, when daylight saving times happen, you know, they can have those in the morning and have these in the evening. I'm going to support. City of Chattanooga meets at 3:30. We're right now meeting at 4 o'clock. I would support going to 3:30 and match them where we can get out of here before church. But I won't support changing the night because I have, some of you all do too, but I have several neighborhood association meetings in my district, and I try to attend all of them. So, and I try to attend all of them every month. So, moving it to Thursday, then I have to miss 2 meetings. Moving it to Tuesday, then I have to meet 2 other meetings. So it's not fair to my constituents to move to a different evening. So I support Wednesday. I'm not going to support this, with all due respect, Mr. Shipley. I'm not going to support this resolution, but I would support going to either 3:30 or 4 as a compromise. If we backed it up 30 more minutes, maybe the staff could get out at a much more decent time, and it would be fair to everybody. And as far as the comments that I've been getting, now that is aside that there is one comment that everybody's been cutting and pasting and just putting their name on. Now I've got a bunch of those, okay, but it's the same comment. But the comments that I have been getting about getting off work to be here for an issue is they would rather take off after lunch and miss a half a day than take off in the morning and not know how long our meeting is going to last. So if they miss going back after lunch or whatever, so it kind of messes up the constituents' day. And if we moved it to 3:30, they would even actually be able to still go back to work after lunch, work a little bit longer, and then catch us like on their way home, or just leave work a little bit early. So I would support, again, and let me say this too. I won't support 2 meetings, and I'll explain why. First of all, we do too much work, way too much work to have people wait for just 2 meetings a month. 2 meetings a month, worse than that, will be crazy confusing. Do we meet this week? Do we not? Do we meet this week? Do we not? We used to, and it was changed here on this deal, we used to meet on Wednesdays and Thursdays every other week. And it was so confusing. Our agenda was one week on Thursday, and then we voted on Wednesday, or right the opposite. But it was too confusing. So we moved it to one day. So we have way too much business to address and to take care of on many meetings to move it to 2 meetings a month. That's just my opinion. But I also think 2 meetings a month is way too crazy for our constituents to figure out. So I will not be supporting this resolution, but I would support leaving it on Wednesdays and moving it to either 3:30 or 4, so it's better on our staff. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Shipley.
I'm finished up talking about constituents. I'm out in my district every day. There's no telling how many I come in contact with in a week. Ballpark, baseball game, I'm everywhere I live. I don't have this problem about my constituents. I have one lady here, they missed the ball. She gonna be here morning or night. I respect your district, but where is all these people at? You're getting these emails coming. If you raise hands, I have county employees in here today in media. Who's here at the county government meeting? Rest my case.
Commissioner Mackey.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Shipley began to address what I would be concerned with, and that is, what do the numbers say? When this first came up last year, I asked staff to count heads, count how many people are here, and they did that. But Commissioner Shipley, he brings an additional point, and the percentage of the people in this room, are they county employees or are they interested citizens? He made a good point. Thank you, Chair.
Sir, Commissioner Sharp.
Thank you, Chairman. I can't support this resolution either, respectfully. I agree with a lot of things that have been said in here today, but I think much of the conversation kind of misses a broader point, where government in general across the nation is often viewed as insular, non-participatory. For 40 years or however long it's been, as my colleague from District 5 mentioned, Hamilton County has met at 9:30 in the morning, which is incredibly inconvenient for most people, particularly people that have to go to work. We have a history, in my experience, of poor attendance to these meetings, and a culture evidenced by voter turnout in local elections that our community does not participate in our local government. We have a history of that. I think that in the troubled times that we live in today, people are beginning to speak up and wanting to be more a part of how our governments function. They want their voices to be heard. They want those voices to be translated into action in their local government. And if the numbers have not increased in attendance as much as some folks would like for them to be in the few short months that we've had this change, I don't think that's really indicative of people not wanting to be here. I think it's more indicative of people not knowing and having the opportunity. Granted, 4 o'clock, people are still at work. So if anything, I think we should go even later to 5:30 to give people time to get here. Now, no one else has said that. My preference would be to go to 5:30 and still have the 4 meetings a week. If there is, 4 meetings a month. Absolutely not 4 meetings a week. Sheesh. But Yes, a typo. But if I were to rank these suggestions that we've had today, in my personal preference, the ones that have been mentioned, not the 5:30, because no one else seems to want to go that late. I would say 4 meetings a month on Wednesdays at 5 o'clock would be my number one choice. My number two choice would be an agenda meeting at 9:30 and then a regular meeting at 5 o'clock. My number three choice would be the bi-monthly meetings, and I really don't like that one simply because of what our colleague suggested earlier. There's some of these meetings, there's so much to cover. And frankly, I think some of these topics are so personal to some folks and emotionally charged. I think that is a lot to deal with. Voting and then going through a whole new agenda. I think we need a recess between those meetings, time to clear our heads and address the new topics with a clear mind. And I guess if I had a fourth choice, since 4 were mentioned, it would be moving it to a Thursday. But I agree with my colleague from District 11. I have neighborhood association meetings on Thursdays. I try to go to all of those, and I don't want to miss them. I think they're too important for us to be able to participate in these community events in our districts to really, keep up with the issues in those neighborhoods and where people are. So those are my thoughts on it. I don't know how we get to a place where we vote. It's awkward, I think, sometimes that we can only have like 2 amendments to a resolution. Maybe I should ask the attorney, if I may, Chairman. Attorney Varnell, is this something that we have to act on right now? Was there a timeline that we established, and now is that timeline? Is that where we are?
Yes, the previous resolution said that the county attorney would bring a resolution today for the agenda session and then to be voted on next week.
Okay. All right. So I'm not sure if how we can go about voting on that. There's a lot of options on the table, it seems like right now. Is ranked choice an option? I'm a big fan of ranked choice voting. Is that something that we can do? We'll probably figure it out. Maybe. Okay. I love the idea. I think we'd be in a much better place if we could have ranked choice voting. But anyways, I'm going to leave it at that and see what else. I'll see some more lights on them, see what other people have to say. But that's kind of where I am right now. Chairman, I thank you for the time.
Absolutely. Commissioner Chauncey.
Thank you, Chairman. So part of my question is, where are we, the resolution that got us in this trial period, if we did not act on it by next week, let's say if we don't get 6 votes to pass the resolution and it doesn't pass, if we don't take action on any other resolution pertaining to our time, do we automatically go back to 9:30?
Yes, that's what your permanent rules say. It's 9:30.
I'll just, so, and I guess I will be supporting the resolution, and I'll just say my second choice would be the bi-weekly meeting, whether it be 4 or 5. That's my second choice. But, my main question was where do we stand if we don't take action on the conflict? Thanks, Chairman.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Beck.
Well, Mr. Chairman, here we go. Like I said, we have several suggestions, and who will be offended if we don't go in their particular, take their particular suggestion. I just heard 4 different options, so that adds to the 11 that we have up here already. So this thing is going to be quite divisive for our commission up here, and it wouldn't be if we just left it alone. And I still haven't heard much concern about our staff, especially about our female staff that have to leave here, and some have to drive all the way to close to Saturday, 40 miles away. You know, I mean, I haven't heard that much concern about our staff. I really haven't. And I'm sorry, I'm a humanitarian, and I believe in, excuse me? I believe in supporting people and not putting something in the way of a person's family. So that's why I'm going to support this resolution, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think we have a rule of public outbursts. I would hope that we would continue to abide by that rule. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, and yes, sir, we do. Commissioner Mackey.
Mr. Chairman, the commissioner from the first district, he asked the county staff to identify themselves. They did, but it wasn't clear. Can we have a show of hands and find out who is actually on the clock right now and who's not?
If you would like to ask the staff to raise their hand, you're more than welcome to.
With the staff, with the Hamilton County staff, please stand up. Let me see who's here. Oh, thank you. You say there, Sal?
Are you good, sir?
Say that again.
Are you good?
They are paid hourly. Tell me that again. Oh. We're trying to find out who are the hourly people who are here, county government. Oh boy. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Commissioner Eversole.
Thank you, Chairman. You know, there's lots of conversation going on, and I will tell you this, for the Hamilton County employees that are here, I love you. I do. And I'm concerned about your safety just as much as what East Ridge is concerned about the safety of their folks. They have the evening meetings. And the other municipalities within Hamilton County that have evening meetings, I don't think they care for their employees any less than what we do here. And I really appreciate it, because when I took this oath, when I was elected in this role, I was elected to be there. I was on the B schedule. And that B schedule is when my constituents, when those, and it's a limited number of people that vote anymore, but when they ask me to be there, my job's to be there. And, you know, I'm flexible on the time. I'm flexible on the day. If we want to do a 5 or 5:30, that's okay. I'm here because I'm on the B schedule. I'm on the schedule that I was elected to be on to represent people of District 10. Now, you know, I keep going. To me, it's frustrating because when you think about my prior world of time when we're, I guess, when you least expect it, things can pop up on you and get you. Okay. And I brought something last week to this meeting, and I'll revert back to it because a lot of people don't know what this is. This is a Sears Roebuck catalog. And in 1993, I promise you, Sears Roebuck had no clue where they would be in 2026. They thought they would continue to be the #1 retailer in the world. And look at where they are today. And you know why they went that direction? It's because they forgot and they stopped listening to trends. They stopped listening to their customer, which we have a customer, and they're called taxpayers. That's our customer, and they stopped listening to them. And I think we're taking the wrong stand. If our general public is saying we want you there so that we have the opportunity to be there, and we may not be there every week, but if we decide to come, we want you there. And I think we're wrong if we turn our nose to that. I am adamantly opposed to us going back to the morning time. And I would prefer us even going to later if it's possible. I think that's the right direction. But I think we're forgetting who we represent. We don't represent ourselves. We represent those people that within our district. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Sharp.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you to my colleague from District 10. I felt the passion in your words, and I appreciate that. I did not intend to say this. I take personal offense at the insinuation that anyone on this body does not care for the staff that serve the people of this county. And I'm angry about it. I care about each and every one of these people. All how many? 1,800 or however many of them we have in Hamilton County government. They provide a service for the people who pay the taxes in this county. Not a service to us and accommodating our schedule. We have people that work on the roads 24 hours a day. Rain, sleet, snow, shine. This isn't about our staff. This is about the people we serve in Hamilton County.
Good.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further lights, Madam Clerk, let's move on. 326-15.
Resolution 326-15, a resolution authorizing the county mayor to terminate the interlocal agreement with the city of Chattanooga for the funding of the Chattanooga-Hamilton County Regional Planning Agency.
Commissioner Eversole.
Thank you, Chairman. It's going to be hard to transition. I guess what I'd like, is Mayor Wamp here? Yeah. Mayor, if you would come to the mic, because this is really kind of, I think, something you and I've been working on for the last few months. It originally started, I guess, when we were in a meeting in 2022 when we kind of approached the RPA in an executive board meeting about, and it was my interest at that time of separating the RPA from Hamilton County. And I think that kind of started some conversation. And we kind of, I guess, Mayor, you and I kind of agreed that I guess we had leadership that just had to begin in the RPA, and we decided, you know, he's asked to give us some time, so we'll give him some time. And I think we both mutually agreed that we were going to give it a chance. But there were some things that just didn't happen, didn't transpire. I think the RPA has done an excellent job up to a certain point, but I think it's time that we as a county look at doing things in-house. And so Mayor and I met here a few months ago, and we decided to have a conversation around what that would look like. I know Mr. Janeway, you'll come up to the mic as well. I know Mr. Janeway was kind of given a task that you don't want him beside you. But Mr. He's giving you the slacker. You know, he's sending you off. But you know, I guess the mayor had a great point. You know, why not call this the Hamilton County Planning Department? And I thought that was a pretty good name. But I think in that process, Mr. Janeway did a lot of legwork, did a lot of research in this process, and there were some numbers put together. And if I recall correctly from a meeting we had just very recently, is that we could create a Hamilton County Planning Department. We could kind of have a separation, be on our own, do this thing ourselves, and potentially save some tax dollars in that process, potentially. And I don't know if this would kind of fall under Mr. Janeway's area of responsibility, but I think that's kind of think it's kind of the direction we need to go. And I think as a county, it's time that we graduate and look at the unincorporated areas as their own. So, Mr. Mayor, did I leave anything out?
No, sir. I would add that Todd Lehman, whose mic I'm borrowing here, may be able to add, depending on commissioner questions, some historic perspective. I think I'd go back to a similar timeline. You and I were both new there in the fall of 2022. And in hindsight, one of the things that helped me understand the changing circumstances within county government was Todd Lehman sharing with me that throughout his career in public works, the county, particularly from a public works standpoint, a development standpoint, I'm going to close to quote you here, had grown from a rural form of government to a suburban form of government to really some urban level density in the unincorporated parts of the county, right? That type of a transformation, that where you get close to urban type density, Commissioner, would be mostly in your district, and some of that in Highlander's district, Commissioner Highlander's district, even some pockets, a lot of density up in our neck of the woods, me and Commissioner Baker. What we talked about late last year in the middle of the conversation about different planning commissions, obviously that is complicated, requires coordination of 5 or 6 different bodies. And so we started a conversation then about, I think everybody here would recognize, some of the people in this room have been very vocal in this regard. The public is frustrated, particularly those folks who live in unincorporated parts of the county. They are frustrated with the way that planning takes place. And now I'd say some of that is a function of the way that planning commission meetings feel. Sometimes that is a frustration beyond what the 11 of y'all and our office can control, right? I mean, and it's just the realities of a county that's growing that has real geographic challenges. But we've heard those challenges, and Commissioner, I would say that you have particularly spent a lot of time in the last 3 years voicing those. I think about that real cold night up on Snow Hill. I think that was a seminal night where we all heard that no change was not good enough. We've explored what the different options are. It is certainly something that some of y'all and I hear more than others of y'all. I mean, it is just a reality of this conversation, right? Is that those who represent the unincorporated areas do get a different type of feedback. And so we put our heads together starting in December, and I suggested that a path forward that this body and our office could control is to redesign a part of the process that I think is misunderstood sometimes, and that is the staff level process. Between 80 and 90% of staff recommendations end up being the recommendation of the Planning Commission. Now, importantly, and I think this is something we all owe the public, even what we're talking about here is really process oriented. The ultimate decisions on the big rezoning cases, the big picture here still rests with the majority of this body, right? We recognize the final say rests with commission, but a lot of the sausage is made, so to speak, at a staff level. And the traditions, and this goes back to when there wasn't a whole lot of growth in the unincorporated parts of the county. There wasn't a lot of development. The traditions within the RPA is that the RPA is made up of staff people who do report to an executive committee that is 5 folks, 2 from the county, 2 from the city, and then the chair of the Planning Commission. But they're city employees, and that's the conversation we had. And they rest, and they have a duality in their roles. Even the chairwoman, let me get this right, the chairwoman of the executive director of the RPA has a duality of roles, also as a director of city planning. So that's when we started exploring. At that time, I don't think we knew whether that would work or whether it would pencil out. But what we found in the last couple months is that we do believe in a budget neutral way, we could shift to where county taxpayers had staff, department within county government that would do the planning work. And that you would effectively then have a county planning staff and a city planning staff, and they would make recommendations on the day of a planning commission, much like you see play out today, but just from a formatting standpoint, but it would be staffed in a way that we think is appropriate, in a way that we think, again, that we can do in a budget neutral way. So that's my recollection of how this all has come together and why we would propose this change.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Janeway?
Yeah, it's interesting. I give the attorney's office a ton of credit because they've done probably almost more work than anybody on this subject. Just trying to make sure that we dot all our I's and cross all our T's, putting a proposal forward. You know, I've learned some of the history about how all this came together through that process. I don't know how many of you know, but interestingly enough, a lot of this came together as a part of the original sales tax agreement with the city. So the funding and everything was very different then than it is today. You know, part of that big number that we send to the RPA every year is our federal match for the TPO. So I think there's a lot of things that we're going to have to work out over the next couple months. My understanding is we'll need a new interlocal agreement with the city just to iron out who does what if we decide to pursue this. But I do feel confident, to your point, if Mayor Wamp entrusts me with putting this together, then I do feel pretty confident that I can make it work at that budget number or maybe below. We've already got a couple staff people in house that are working on their AICP certifications. State law allows you to work on planning either with that certification or with a prerequisite amount of experience in planning and government. We feel like we do have those bases covered with some staff that are already working for the county. And then I would foresee that building out to a 4 or 5 person department that would handle those cases. And I will add too that over the past 3 years since we created the Department of Development Services, we've modernized the application process in such a way that that we have all the infrastructure in place to go ahead and take applications, no matter what the applications look like. Right now, we take, you know, water quality applications and groundwater applications, but creating a new portal for the zoning applications and plat applications would not be all that difficult to set up.
Good deal. So it would be, you see it as a smooth transition if this body.
I feel like if our attorneys and the city attorneys can hammer out a good interlocal agreement that we can all live with, I think we could make it pretty seamless.
And
I want to add one more thing, if I may. I do want to thank Brian and Karen. They've been more than gracious through this whole process. I know it can be kind of charging, and I understand, you know, some of their concerns as well. And I want to thank them for the work that they've done with me over the past 3 years. Anytime I call or email or anything, they're there to help. So I just want to make sure it's not about that. You know, sometimes we just have to do things a little differently. So
I'll throw you one last question. Why would we do this?
I think the biggest thing is just more direct oversight on planning. The commissioners would have that ability, as well as the mayor, to read into things more closely. Staff recommendations, you know, ideally they come from a comprehensive plan, which we endeavored to go through over the last couple of years. Planning Commission was able to pass one, but it's a more direct connection, I think, between unincorporated constituents and the planning department.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, your recommendation, 10 being the highest, what would your recommendation be? Should we do this?
I don't know. I apologize, sir, but I don't know if it's appropriate for me to give my opinion on that. That would be up to the legislative body.
But you would recommend us doing this?
I think we could take care of it if that's the direction the commission wants to go.
You feel good about it then, right?
That's
the best. That's the best I'm gonna get.
I feel good about enacting it if that's what you decide you want to do.
Mrs. Attorney, thank you. You and your staff, y'all spent a lot of hours. I know even before this, when I put the resolution in December as far as us separating the planning commission, you kept us straight on it because there were a lot of spider webs of laws that seemed to continuously flow throughout the years. And we just found out, as Mayor Wamp stated a minute ago, is that avenue seemed to be impossible to do based off of state law. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So I just, I think for me, it'd be the right thing to do. And I think, Mayor Wamp, I think it would be good for us to consider putting this in under your umbrella.
I'll add this, echoing what Nathan said. And this has been a part of our conversation. I've talked to Commissioner Baker about this. I spoke to Commissioner Pelton about it. The staff of the RPAs, they're professionals. This is not, even as I sat down with city leadership last week, it's not an adversarial action from our perspective. It is a result of having studied how the county has gotten to where we are. Nathan laid some of that out. It's the reason I referenced even just the career of Todd Lehman, and us being basically a rural form of government from a public works standpoint, all the way to now, particularly with annexation, forced annexation's over, and so you're going to see into the future development that is not similar to what the county saw, over previous decades. And so as we contemplate how do we meet the expectations of a frustrated public, particularly in the unincorporated area, knowing that there's no silver bullet here, and I think that's one thing we want to be transparent about. Not a silver bullet, but this is a process improvement that reflects the needs of the county. I even think about the exciting news, last week, for example, this body unanimously approved the direction of McDonald Farm, or a large portion of it, becoming a state park. Huge anchor investment in the north part of the county. I thought this morning as I was getting ready about how exciting the next decade in Sale Creek will be. And Sale Creek itself really deserves intentional planning, especially given how this investment will positively affect it. And I think it would be proper for there to be planners. This is no fault to any person who's planning at the city of Chattanooga or in the RPA. They've got all sorts of different neighborhoods and interesting challenges and opportunities, but it's almost too far for a person, or for a set of planners to really do both excellently. And I know that there's a series of concerns that this body has about growth being irresponsible. We recognize that a lot of growth happened really fast, again, concentrated years with Commissioner Highlander, Commissioner Smith's district. But I think there is an appropriate way and a diplomatic way. That was the spirit in which I approached the city late last week to say, we just think this is a way that we can still work together. We'd like to see further changes to the Planning Commission also. I think that's something that we've had a lot of discussions about. But that this is a step in the direction of the public feeling like the county is being more intentional about planning.
Thank you, Chairman.
Commissioner Mackey.
Thank you, Chair. You guys are trying to screw the city of Chattanooga. You guys are trying to get the people in Chattanooga's tax money for your benefit, for playgrounds in Sale Creek. I don't care about you speaking out there. You don't want to intimidate me. The truth is, Chattanooga, you've heard it yourself, one Chattanooga, but you guys want it for yourself. Who's going to stand up for Chattanooga? You guys want Chattanooga's money for playground. You're trying to shut off growth and development. Did you notice when he asked Janeway never would say it. It's like the bosses are putting pressure on him, and then he's putting pressure on Karen and Brent and Brian. They don't want to do this. They know it's wrong. It takes a regional approach. And you guys, you're not serious about it. The people in Chattanooga are getting their fair share. Chattanooga say one Chattanooga, and that's for everybody. Google on your phone, you'll see one of the 7 principles is a regional plan of growth. You guys don't want growth, but you want the benefit. You know dang well cost of government is going to go up every year. Every year. But you don't want to grow. You want Chattanooga to take the brunt of it But yet, if Chattanooga called the Hamilton County Humane Society, the Hamilton County Humane Society will say to Chattanooga, you go fly a kite. We ain't coming for you. You're taking their money, but you don't want to service them. It ain't fair. It ain't right. I'll tell you what a game they play. They will play this game and say, we want growth, but we want smart growth. But they never say, where is the smart growth is nowhere around them. For a whole year, they have been playing this game of trying to slow down growth and development in Hamilton County. They started by saying, first of all, let's have 2 regional planning groups, one for the city and one for the county. And you know dang well the county group would not support growth and development. And then they came back again and said, let every district decide for itself what it's going to do. You know what that means? You're not being fair and honest with the people throughout this county. It ain't right. You want their money. I told you before, it's 32 miles from here to the McDonald's farm. Ain't nobody in Chattanooga going up there. And Ray County is definitely laughing at Hamilton County. We're putting roads and bridges there for their pleasure. This is one I'll definitely vote against. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Baker.
That was spirited, interesting. I can see why we're on opposite ends of this. I'd like to thank Commissioner Eversole for his patience, because he actually back in 2022 was interested in making some changes. I think the right thing to do is give it some time, and we have. So thank you for your patience. Nathan. You're obviously highly involved with the Planning Commission.
Yes, sir.
Isn't the split about 75-25 amount of cases that relate to the county versus?
That's probably close. It may be more like 80-20, but I don't know that I've run the numbers recently. So.
Yeah. So it would be great to have a focus on county issues with county people, I would think.
Again, I would leave that to this body. But
you like the idea.
I think we can execute. I think we can execute the idea.
Yeah. Okay. And our PA staff, again, love them, but they're also City of Chattanooga employees, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I think we save money. We have specific needs that would be addressed by county focus. I love the idea. Thank you.
Commissioner Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a real heartburn about this, and I'll tell you why. It's because it's divisive. How many districts are in Hamilton County? 11. How many schools have we built? Do we build it because one district needs it and another one doesn't? No. So when we built East Hamilton out there, East Hamilton High School, who pays for that? All 11 districts. Who pays for this 250 million, well, 260, but the WWTA is paying for 10. Who pays for this $250 million bond for school projects? All of our districts. How many people in the city of Chattanooga or the town of Lookout Mountain, which is my district, how many of those people pay Hamilton County taxes? All of them. All of them do. So this is divisive in many ways, but this is very disrespectful to our district. It's disrespectful to anybody that has a district that's not in the unincorporated areas that we're talking about. I have unincorporated area in my district. It's small, but I do have it. But who's going to pay for all those roads? We are. All the people that are within the rest of the municipality. Who's going to pay for the infrastructure that is desperately needed out there? We are. So who's not going to have a say in any of the planning? We are, if we go this route. So I can understand the planning commission being revamped or reorganized with different appointees that represent all of our districts better. I can see that. But to separate and start another planning agency, well, first of all, it wouldn't be called regional anymore because it'd be Hamilton County, but it's just divisive. I mean, we graduate 5,000 kids a year that we know of. We don't know how many of the kids that graduate that are homeschooled. We don't have an idea. But we graduate between private schools and public schools. We graduate about 5,000 kids a year. Those kids have to live somewhere. Those kids have to work somewhere. So you're putting the burden on all of us in District 11 to make sure that we have extra housing or to make sure that we have jobs so they can go to the unincorporated area and live, but come into our district and work. That's not right. So I say it again. In all of Hamilton County, how many districts we have? 11. Who pays for those roads? 11 districts. It's not fair to the rest of our districts to separate and plan in a different way. I definitely want smart growth, but we have to grow. If we're not growing our tax base, we're growing our tax rate. And growing our tax rate is even doubly unfair to the people in the rest of the county, because in District 11, we are paying for services that are provided out there because there's not enough people in the unincorporated area to pay for it. You all can't even pay for our school system without the rest of our district. You can't pay for the health department without our district. You can't pay for the court systems and the jails and the sheriff without the rest of our district. It's one pot of money. We all should be planning together, not separately, not because some people get their feelings hurt about a house being built. And let's look at this from another aspect. It's very, very, very disrespectful to people that own property that want to sell it, or people that own property and want to develop it. We heard from a person, I don't remember the person's name, but we heard from a person a year and a half, 2 years ago when we were talking about this before. They came in and said that they put all their money in the farm. For all these years, they put all their money in the farm. He was 80-something years old. He wanted to retire. He wanted to sell the farm so he could take the money, downsize, and retire with that money. The developers wanted to buy the farm. That's their prerogative. Other people didn't want to buy the farm to be a farm. He put all his revenue in that farm to retire. So we're being disrespectful to property owners all over Hamilton County. But in my opinion, it's more disrespectful to the Hamilton County taxpayers in District 11, because we're being squeezed for every bill that Hamilton County has, but we're not being treated equally. So I will not now, not ever, support this. I do support reorganizing the board. I do support maybe changing the nominees or the appointees. I do support that. And I do support Karen and Brian. I think they do an excellent job. That's not their board we're talking about. This is a different board. They're the regional planning agency. They report to the board, but the board is a different group of people that sit right up here on this deal. But this is completely disrespectful to the people that live in District 11. Thank you.
Chairman, can I respond to? Let me get to the rest of these lights. Commissioner Sharp, you're next.
Thank you, Chairman. First off, I want to commend our colleague from District 10 on his diligence and persistence. You've got those two things covered. And I keep looking at this Sears catalog. I used to stand on that catalog to answer the telephone when I was a little boy. My first job was at the Sears catalog store. Fred and Katrinka Sharp ran the Sears catalog store in Marion County. We used to deliver refrigerators and washing machines all over the county. incorporated and unincorporated. This resolution, I guess I knew something like this was going to come. And I do tend to agree more with my colleagues from District 4 and District 11 on a lot of these things, the points that were made. I want to talk a little bit about what I've heard today. I've heard that currently planning is being run by city employees. And I heard our mayor say, with this resolution, our office will have control. I heard county taxpayers will have control. Well, city residents, they're county taxpayers too. And as our chief financial officer presented to us a few weeks ago, we're county taxpayers at a substantially higher rate than unincorporated county taxpayers. I'm open to doing something different. Totally open to doing something different. But something else I heard a moment ago is that we're going to have to vote on this before we learn what it will eventually become. And that doesn't make any sense to me. I can't do that. In good conscience, I can't do that. If I'm going to support something, I want to know exactly what it is and how that's going to impact the people in my district. Now, I can grow to support it, but that's, I think, a bridge too far for me. Ultimately, we have planning staff and maybe they're city employees. I know the county pays for a substantial portion of that. And then there's the planning commission, and we like to point our fingers at the planning commission all the time. But ultimately, the final decision, regardless of what has been said or done at RPA or planning commission, the final decision is made right here. So we can point blame anywhere we want, but ultimately, the buck stops on this board when it comes to planning decisions and zoning decisions in Hamilton County. That's our function. And if we're going to have, I've said this before, if we're going to have a county board or agency, there needs to be equal representation from all 11 districts on it. I mean, that's what representative government is about. And I think over the last few years, this body has delegated a lot of our authority up to an executive elected countywide, diluting the voice of the people we represent in our districts. And I'm not willing to do that. But if we want to have some type of planning body, matter of fact, I was on a phone call with some county staff not long ago with a planning organization out of Asheville, North Carolina. They're called Urban 3, I think. They do a lot of tax equity work, planning work. They work with communities all over the country who are, struggling with balancing growth in communities with infrastructure and changing of sprawl and trying to reduce sprawl, which density helps with substantially. I've got a lot of problems with this. I need to learn a lot more. I certainly appreciate the diligence, the persistence from our colleague in District 10 on this matter. I think you've done a good job. I think it needs to be deliberated more substantially from this body, with all 11 voices heard on. And that's kind of where I am right now on it. Chairman, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Commissioner Shipley.
Well, man, you're not going to disagree on everything that I ever saw. I'll be supporting it. We've talked about this, worked on it for a long, long time. I want to thank everybody else that has. The attitude I've seen took on the planning commission is not suitable for me as a commissioner. The way people was treated in here one day was disrespectful. Now, whether this entire resolution works, we replace faces, but it's time for a change. And if we don't, this county is going to get in trouble. You think it's going to get in trouble by no growth. I think it's going to get in trouble by too much growth. We made bonds of $250 million. We are trying to get schools in order, and we got people wanting to throw what I call track subdivisions up everywhere across the county. They're going to flood our schools. We have no more money we can borrow. What do? Well, we can't even buy no double wides right now. So if we don't use our head, and you're right, Commissioner Shaw, the buck should stop here, but it don't. We let it go when it comes here. Now, we wouldn't need all this if we were responsible here to stop some of this growth. That's all I got.
Commissioner Highlander.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll try not to be really lengthy. I will say I'm thankful that Mr. Janeway did not react to his wife, and when he proposed to her the same way he did with us. He might not be married today, but I think he was wise in doing it that way, though. I think he didn't want to get himself in trouble, and I understand that. And thank you, Mr. Janeway. We have more difficulty. When I first came on the commission, I did 2 terms on the school board, and this body graciously appointed me, and then I got elected. But I was told the infrastructure always follows growth. Infrastructure always follows growth. And that's I heard that 1,000 times. And until the mayor put I think I'm correct, Mayor, 1.58 million or something like that into unincorporated roads funds, we'd never had any designated roads fund. Julie had done that. I'm not sure. I may be a little off on my numbers there. 5.8. 5.8. Oh yeah, 5.8. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me on that. He's put it in twice, 2 different times, and I appreciate that. But I went in my district, and Commissioner Eversole has what used to be part of my district. There are so many roads I had 12 great years at Red Bank High School in Mr. Sharp's district. Loved it there. I took kids home. If there was a problem on Morrison Springs Road, I could take 6, 8, 10 different avenues to go around and get around that traffic problem. On Highway 58 or Ooltewah Georgetown Road, I don't have those options. And we need, and I'm thankful for the mayor's input on the infrastructure changes, but we need to get our infrastructure catching up with some of the growth that we've got. I'm not against growth. I want it to be responsible growth. And I think that's what we need to do. And I'm going to support Commissioner Eversole's resolution. And in saying that, I appreciate Brian and Karen and that staff, and they've done a great job. They've been good to work with. I mean, I appreciate them. They've done a good job. But I think they can concentrate on the city, and we can concentrate on the county. And the county has certain responsibilities the city does not have. While we pay over 60-some% of our budget, over $1 billion budget goes for the school system. And it's not the school systems in the rural areas or the county, it's the whole system. I mean, we're putting, correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Smith, the new elementary school that we're putting is in your district is in the city limits of Chattanooga, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So I want to work with the city of Chattanooga. And I've been serving on the TPO board for regional planning for since I came on this commission. I was appointed and been there, and I'm thankful to serve. But I asked about helping for Snow Hill Road, and I finally got, after my second or third year on TPO, I got them on the third tier. I said, how long before the third tier comes to fruition? They said 7 or 8 years. So wow, I'm trying to get something done, but it's a long time to get improvement done. But we're working at it. We just got to keep working at it. But I think it would be a positive if we have the county in charge and have a county department. That would let Brian Karen and the current staff concentrate on what is about 80%, the way I see it, of what they're doing now is the city of Chattanooga. And I appreciate the other viewpoint. I truly do. I appreciate both viewpoints. But I'm going to support Commissioner Eversall's resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I've got 2 more lights up here. We're going to get to these, and Mr. Mayor, let me finish getting these commissioners. I'll come to you, and then if we're wrapping up there, we can move on. I know we've got a lot of people here, some from the public that are wanting to speak about it or that are here to address another one of these resolutions. Commissioner Baker, Chief.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I heard a lot of this discussion about city versus county, and I just think about myself. I live in the town of Signal Mountain. I pay Signal Mountain taxes, pretty decent amount of taxes. I expect services from the town of Signal Mountain. I also pay county taxes, and I expect that to not only fund our schools, which is what 63%, but our help us with our volunteer fire department or any other service that we need, particularly roads. And then what's different with District 2 versus pretty much everywhere else is I've got 3 roads up the mountain. One main one, which by the way is about to be closed for some period of time to renovate it because it's going to fall off the mountain, and then 2 wagon roads. So everybody does have different needs, and people that live in towns pay a certain tax, and people in the county pay another tax, and people who live in town pay both taxes, and that's just that's the way it is, the way of the world, and I think we should at least acknowledge that. Thank you.
Commissioner Sharp, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. Somebody finally said it out loud. We need to stop some of this growth. We need to stop the growth. It's going to hurt us. It's going to hurt us. Occupancy's down in our hotels. Sales tax will follow. We're going to be in a tight spot. I suspect we'll be reducing staff positions, pay raises. Either have new revenue or you make cuts. I mean, that's how it works. I've tried to offer solutions and alternatives to all these things. No one seems to want to do any of them, and I appreciate that. Whatever, we all have our own ideas. One of our colleagues mentioned a moment ago that the mayor put, I don't know, $12 million or so in a roads fund, but I disagree with that. The mayor asked this commission to do that, and we voted unanimously to do it. So all 11 of us decided to put that $12+ million in the roads fund. You know where that money came from? It came from all 11 districts. And it went to build a couple roundabouts and maybe a couple other projects, all of which are in unincorporated Hamilton County. I voted for that. I did, because I know that we need those roads. All of us voted for that. It doesn't have to be us versus them. I vote to support these roads and infrastructure projects. And I have for 8 years. But if you keep doing what you've always done, you're only going to get what you've already received. And that's what we're doing right now. It's literally the definition of insanity. We're going to go borrow money to pay for schools. By the time we get the money, the costs have gone up so high, the money ain't going to go near as far as you want it to go. We're going to pay an additional 33% in interest payments. What's debt service? What are we going to pay in interest payments this year? Do we know the answer to that? Mr. Brenner, may I ask, what are we going to pay in debt service interest alone in this next budget?
If you give me a couple minutes, I'll get it. If you want to go on, I'll come back.
That would be great. I'd love to have the answer to that. It's a lot of money. I can guarantee you it is. It's 8 figures. I know that. You know, I've advocated for dedicated revenue streams for roads, for schools, for fire, for patrol. And these are things that we need to talk about, right? They're things that we need to talk about. The county needs these things. But it needs to be done from the perspective of 11 districts, not the perspective of 5 or 6 or whatever. I mean, we all got to live with it. We all got to pay for it. Some of us have to live with a little more of it than others. I mean, my kids went to a school built in 1894. I mean, there are needs everywhere. They're different. You know, we had a great plan to address some of those school needs in my district. Of course, we kind of wadded that up, threw it out the window. Right? Take that a little personally. I'm a little hurt by that still. Maybe we'll get there eventually. Wait my time. But to give up the voice of the people that I represent and how we spend tax dollars in this community is a non-starter for me. I'm happy to have a conversation about how we move forward differently. But I've got to understand exactly what it is, and the people I represent will have a voice in that conversation. Chairman, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
At least in this conversation, I'm the only one who served all 11 districts. When you talk about 11 districts, I get it. I'm not sure there's one of y'all's district that I care more about than the other. I've spent an enormous amount of time over the last 3.5 years working on projects in all of your districts. Commissioner Beck and I have worked on historic education projects in his district. Commissioner Helton and I have done all sorts of school athletic projects, road projects. This county's probably invested in as many projects in Commissioner Mackey's district as anybody's district. The county is a collection of all of these very different communities, no doubt about that. We also are unusual in that there are 10 municipalities within the county and a growing number, faster growing number of people living in the unincorporated parts of the county than in any of those municipalities. I've got to respond to several just based on the flow of conversation. And I'm not going to be here next week. And so I'm going to say my piece about a few of these things because I want to clarify intent. My friend Commissioner Graham said this was disrespectful. Commissioner Mackey made similar comments. These are both gentlemen. We may end up disagreeing on this, but I don't think you'll disagree with our intent if you'll hear us out. It is certainly not intended to be disrespectful. In fact, I think there's an assumption that has been made in opposition to this that is at least not applicable to me. I've not been a part of many of these types of conversations. I mean, if you'll think back, you could pull the record. I'd say when you guys have debated what the future of the Planning Commission is, I listened. In almost every zoning case, I've listened. I don't know that I've spoken into a single zoning case the whole time we've been working together. This is different. I did begin to study this at Commissioner Eversole and really Commissioner Baker's request. We don't agree on all of these issues. In fact, I have a more moderated position, I would say, than many of you on the Regional Planning Commission. An important part of this plan here is the Regional Planning Commission, in which the city of Chattanooga and Hamilton County have planned together, would remain intact. It would give an opportunity for us to speak into issues in the city to speak into issues in the county at one level. But at a planning level, the county would begin to manage the planning at a staff level really similarly to how the city already does on city planning. And I want to take a stab at explaining something that I have thought about every week over the last few years, and especially since I moved to Signal Mountain, I think about this a lot because I wake up in the town of Signal, I leave and go into the unincorporated, and then I drive back into the town of Signal, and then I drive into the town of Walden and back out into the unincorporated county, and I come down into the city of Chattanooga. And I honestly think a ton about what it means that we have overlapping jurisdictions. Municipalities are the primary form of government. Cities, towns, primary form of government. But, and the county is typically the secondary form of government, at least in the state of Tennessee. When there is not a city or a town, the county then is the primary and secondary form of government. We're both providing roads and a jail, right? But if you're in Red Bank or the city of Chattanooga, the roads and certain other services, trash pickup, the responsibility of the primary form of government. The county, to Commissioner Baker's point, does not provide a whole lot of services to people in the unincorporated areas. I do not think it's true that those people pay less county taxes, as Commissioner Sharp said. In fact, in a whole lot of unincorporated parts of the county, they pay more county taxes than a lot of homes in municipal areas. We're only talking about the county portion of their tax bill, and we're talking about the services that the county renders to the people in the unincorporated part of the county. And this is a difficult thing, but it's another one of these things where I understand, I work with all the mayors that you all represent of the various municipalities. But here I think is a more appropriate analogy. And when you hear this analogy, I hope that you will see, particularly Commissioners Graham, Mackey, the intent here is to be collaborative, but also to honor these communities, as we've discussed here before, Appleton, Sale Creek, Harrison. These are communities that have as distinct a set of interests as Collegedale does, or as East Ridge does. And here's the analogy. I think what we are proposing here in terms of a county planning department, as opposed to a regional planning agency that staffs both the city and county, is analogous to, we have a highway department. The city of Chattanooga has a public works department that works on roads, right? It is no dispute, nor is it disrespectful, that Hamilton County has a highway department responsible for about 880 miles, as my memory serves me, about 880 miles of unincorporated roads. And our staff makes priorities and sets, and this commission names roads and onboards new roads and funds roads. But it is our role in county government to oversee the road infrastructure of the unincorporated area. Well, all of the neighborhoods in the unincorporated areas operate off of those roads. And so it really is just I'm speaking for myself. And Commissioner Eversole, Commissioner Baker, Commissioner Shipley, who appear to support this, may have different perspectives. This is a process improvement. It's why I said in my opening remarks that I met with Darren Ledford from the city on Friday to be very clear. This is not an adversarial action from my perspective. In fact, it is a change that I think will better serve unincorporated residents, but will also keep together the tradition of the city and county planning together. There still would be a regional planning commission, but the decisions at a staff level, much like they're already made at a staff level in terms of how we take care of roads, maintain roads, repave roads, add safety features to roads. It's the same approach. In fact, I would even argue, as a lifetime resident of the city of Chattanooga until a year and a half ago, that what Commissioner Highlander said could very well be true. It stands to reason, in my opinion, that it would be true that a city planning department would better serve the people of the city of Chattanooga. They would not be stretched into thinking about how are we going to program around Sale Creek now that there's a state park, or how are we going to deal with this new roundabout in Appleton. And so again, I won't be here next week. I'm sure this is an argument that will continue on. At least speaking from my perspective, I want you to hear us say that this is not a binary pro-growth, anti-growth. I want you to hear me say very clearly that if this is a department that we're overseeing in county government, in no way will the department be weaponized. There are laws that generally dictate the direction that staff works, but we do think there's greater accountability and transparency. And the part that I probably believe in the most is the ability to pay attention to detail in these communities that warrant the attention to detail. Right? And that goes back to these historic communities. Birchwood's a great example of it, right? And these communities are going to change and they're going to grow. But I think we we dumbed down and oversimplified in part of this discussion the funding mechanisms, because one could even argue fungibility of money can be a real complicated thing, but one could argue that the funds that we've committed to roads, these two $5.8 million contributions, one could argue that that's just simply the county making right the fact that it had not invested enough of county-derived local option sales tax into roads. One could argue that we only funded that with an accrued portion of county unincorporated property taxes, county unincorporated local option sales tax, right? I just want you all to know, as a resident and a taxpayer of one of the towns in this community, that we come to y'all with this proposal not from the perspective only of the unincorporated areas, but with a global view and believing that this will work well for the city, work well for the county. And our intent is certainly not to be disrespectful in bringing this proposal to you.
All right, I see an additional light. Would you? Okay. Directly on what? Oh, yeah. Yours wasn't on. Anyways, Commissioner Sharp.
Chief Financial Officer texted me. If anyone was wondering, I was over here texting. I was looking at Mr. Browner's text. So in this next budget, is it what we're talking about, Lee?
Yes, sir.
$22,632,000 in interest payments. That expands Thrasher Elementary. They do a lot of stuff. We pay an interest payment, and I know there's arguments against it. But you know, there's a very conservative financial fellow on the radio every day. He'll tell you you'll never borrow your way out of debt, and we're in a tremendous amount of debt, not only financially, but in services for our community. And that's where I come back to. You keep doing what you've been doing, you'll always get what you've always got. We need to start doing things differently. A lot of communities use enhanced fire districts, enhanced patrol districts, enhanced traffic districts, multiple things to help pay for this stuff. Just want to put that out there. There are other ways of doing things, rather than how we're talking about it right now. And I think that's something that would be really good conversation for the 11 of us to have. I look forward to having it. Thank you, Chairman.
All right, I've got two more comments left. Commissioner Mackey, please make it brief.
I will. Thank you, Chair. Chair, I want to ask Karen and Brian to stand where you are for a moment. Now, you know, we haven't always seen eye to eye and gotten along and spoken well to each other, but I want to say out loud, you guys have done a great job, and you plan well. And I want to see you continue to serve the whole county. You can sit now. But why, if you served on the city council and you heard what is being proposed today, how do you think they feel about that? Lee, you gave the number of the dollar amount. What percentage of that will come from Hamilton County, from Chattanooga?
Again, I'd have to get that percentage based on property tax collections within the city of Chattanooga versus total, but yeah, I just don't know.
You don't know exactly, but would you guess most of it is going to come from Chattanooga or what?
Well, when you throw in, yeah, I mean, over 50%.
Thank you. They want to take Chattanooga's money for their playground. They don't want to see growth and development. You know, when I came to the county commission, I wanted all the growth and development and progress to take place in Hamilton County. But I've kind of expanded. There's an organization, we haven't heard about it recently, but it's the Southeast Tennessee Regional Planning Group. And they have taken a regional approach, realizing that not everything can take place right here. But we do work together. And I'm wondering if this commission over here served on the city council and you were trying to do what we're talking about doing to Chattanooga, how would you feel about it? Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Eversole, it's your item. You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, thank you for letting me wrap this up. I've sat here and listened to all these rabbit holes and just kind of going every which direction, because this resolution doesn't say anything about stopping growth. All it's saying is letting the RPA know that we're going to create our own Hamilton County Planning Department. I don't think, for me, people of East Ridge cares about what they do in Chattanooga. I don't think the citizens of Chattanooga, which I also represent as well. Matter of fact, I got Bestie Shepherd, level 5 school in my district as well. And I think if you go ask those teachers, they don't care if Hamilton County creates their own planning department, because it's not going to cost them any more tax dollars to do that in that process. But I think you go to the people of Ooltewah, they do care. They care real quick because they're like the people of Chattanooga who care about their community. People of Ooltewah care about their community, and I think what the general purpose of this is doing is helping us with the Hamilton County Planning Department to look at things a little different in the unincorporated areas than we do in the incorporated areas. We can focus on things like infrastructure improvements, where we need them, how we need them. We can even look at fire protection. We got areas and communities within Hamilton County that have an ISO rating of a 10, which is zero protection, and we're paying $2,000 to $3,000 more per year annually in homeowners insurance. So I think the people in off of Hunter Road, they care that we do something like this, and we fine-tune planning and detail this. So I really appreciate the conversation. I really do. One of the things I found out this week, we've got more homes on the market today than we did when we took office. Y'all know that? So I think that's things going in the positive direction. So we got a lot of good things going for us in the community. This would help us get to the next level, and I appreciate the conversation. Thank you, Chairman.
All right. Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, we're moving on. 326-16, please.
Resolution 326-16, a resolution accepting the proposal from Huber and Lamb Appraisal Group, Inc. for professional appraisal services for commercial property insurance valuation services for the Risk Management Department, and authorizing the county mayor to sign any contracts necessary to implement this resolution.
See no lights on that one? That is the last item that we have, that is committee of a whole. So we will be doing committee assignments today. I've got Building and Economic Development Committee. Commissioner Shipley, you'll have 2 resolutions. Rules and Legislative, Commissioner Helton, you'll have 1. Public Safety, Commissioner Beck, you'll have 5, sir. Public Works and Zoning, Commissioner Highlander, you've got 4 resolutions. We will take those up in this room immediately following this meeting. If either one of the committee chairs choose to go into the back in the conference room, they can make that announcement during their announcement time. And with that, we will move into announcements. Commissioner Shipley.
No announcement.
Commissioner Baker.
No announcements.
Commissioner Mackey.
Announcement.
Commissioner Beck.
No announcement.
Commissioner Sharp.
None, sir.
Commissioner Helton. Commissioner Chauncey. Commissioner Highlander.
I appreciate the patience of the audience, and that's all. Thank you.
Commissioner Eversole.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Chairman, but we do have to announce budget hearings. Thank you for the budget hearings the last 2 weeks, Lee, you and your team. We do have budget hearings next week to announce. The Humane Society will be here to present their budget at 3 o'clock. So please, especially those on the Finance Committee, technically we should be here, but Humane Society and then all of our volunteer services will be here next week between 3 and 4 o'clock. Ms. Alchair.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Graham.
Get out to your local rec center and volunteer. They need volunteers. Thank you, sir.
Attorney Barnell. Mayor Wamp, I think he had to leave. Does the administration have any announcements? None? All right, me either. So with that, we will move to the public. For any comments that they would like to make other than zoning, you'll be welcome to come to the mic. Start with your name and address. You will have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Mayor Wamp. My name is Tanya Sadler, Vice Mayor of Collegedale. I'm here today to advocate for a new green space of Collegedale through the $250,000 matching grant opportunity. I'm pleased to be here this afternoon with Director of the Collegedale Tomorrow Foundation, David Bartow, who can explain more about this park. Earlier this week, after a meeting with Commissioner Eversole, we were made aware of some additional requirements for applying for the county's Leaning Into Communities grant. With a tight March 31st deadline, we felt it important to speak today to make sure we're on the right track to receive this highly anticipated matching grant. A few key requirements for this project conveyed to us were a unanimous vote from our board and signed letters of support from each board member. I brought letters of support that I'll gladly hand over to Mayor Wamp. So in short, we're here today to ask for your encouragement and your guidance as this application will come before you this month before the March 31st deadline. Director Bartow is here with me to answer any questions you may have about how this funding will be utilized to support our new Kawa trail system. Yes.
Mr. Bartow,
Um,
you have 3 minutes.
The Kawa Trail System is 41 acres. It's valued, the appraised value is about $600,000. What we're asking for is that the appraised value of the land be donated this month before the 31st is basically meets the grant for the $250,000. That's what we have been working under the assumption on for over a year on this. And we would just like to be able to know that we've got county participation in the process. It should open up another 60 acres up on top of up towards the top of the mountain that's owned by a different owner that we're working on getting. So we're working on a 100-acre park here, but 41 acres right now valued at about $600,000.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Commissioner Eversole, do you have a comment too?
Yeah, I do. I got great news for you. This is an unexpiring grant, so doesn't have a deadline. When I came over with Matt Folks and I guess approached your city commission and we talked about this grant, it was an unexpiring grant. So there's no March 31st deadline, so that should put you at ease. But the grant is a matching grant, which means that we will match what you spend for the city. So all that, and it's always been that. I mean, that was explained. Is Matt Spokes? Is Matt here with us? I didn't see him. But I would love to give Collegedale this. But we just need to make sure that we follow the rules for all the communities. And I think that's what's been said. But the matching grant, there's no expiration date, and it's a match. So if Collegedale or is
the Collegedale Tomorrow Foundation,
yeah, but it's always been a matching grant. So so it's a matching grant, and there's no expiration date. So, but I'd love to have Collegedale participate. That's the reason we came over and had our meeting. So hopefully it makes you feel better. There's no March 31st deadline. So,
Commissioner Helton, do you have a question, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Would the land being donated, what did you say it's valued at?
Oh, about $600,000.
Is that going to be treated as an in-kind donation? Are we doing that with these? I talked to the mayor, but we've not done a lot of these yet, and he had he had kind of stated prior that an in-kind donation of land would be considered in lieu of cash. But we've not done a lot of these, so and we don't have I don't know if we have a formal process for this, do we? On that one issue.
I've not researched this yet. I will say that these are county grants that were established by the county and adopted by the county commission. So regardless, if y'all choose to use this as a match, whether it was written in the original guidance or not, it will be up to you to decide if it's a match or not.
Because the land is being donated by a third party in this instance. I'm just curious how we're going to treat this. I don't have a problem with that at all. A third party giving land is the same as a third party giving cash. I think Lookout Mountain's doing something similar. They're getting a private money, right? It wasn't a private donation. Okay. All right. Anyway, thank you.
Commissioner Highlander, do you have a question on this topic?
Briefly, I'm in an adjoining community. I'm not in Collegedale, but I appreciate the spirit and the effort, and I think my citizens will probably benefit from it too. I had a very similar question to Mr. Helton, is how this would go, how this would transpire, and if it was ethical and legal. We need to study that, but anything we can do, if at all possible, I'd love to see it done. And I think Commissioner Everthall and I and all of us would love to see that in that community, if at all possible. Thank you.
Do you have a final comment, sir?
Yeah, I'm open. I just want to make sure the rules are followed, because I don't want it to come here because I have to present it to this board and say, hey, this is what Collegedale wants to do. And I want to be able to say, we've all done it, and not it be a one-off that nobody else has done, because some of my peers are saying, I've never heard that before. I'm hearing them in the background saying, I've not done that before, and I don't think that's legal for us to do it. So I just want to make sure, number one, we don't want it to be shot down. We want it to be approved. But rest of these, there's not a March 31st deadline on it. So I can have a sidebar on it afterwards, and then we'll. So thank you.
Thank you. We're looking forward to inviting all of you out.
Good afternoon, Commission. My name is Jeff Meldal. I live in District 11 in St. Elmo. I'm also the president of the Chattanooga Area Labor Council. Thanks for your time. I want to say just briefly, I never came to a county commission meeting before y'all moved them to the afternoon. It's meant a huge amount to me to learn about the process here, and I've really appreciated being able to come out for these. I know it means a lot to all the workers that I represent, as I mentioned to y'all a couple weeks ago. That's not what I'm here to speak about. I wanted to speak about the agenda item, which hasn't been addressed yet, which was the Jailhouse Studios lease agreement. We did speak about that a couple months ago. And I just wanted to, I don't know when the opportunity will be for public comment on that, but wanted to put some comments out now. We at the Labor Council, in collusion with the building trades, commissioned a study on a local hire, specifically for construction projects. And I know there's not a ton of new construction necessarily going into this, but there are certainly renovations. And that study found that for $1 million spent with a local contractor, we're generating $1,490,000, so almost 50% additional money over the investment in local economic activity. We know that state law precludes forcing stipulations in an agreement of this sort, but when we have people of good faith like yourselves, repeat developers, I mean, Mr. White has come before you many times before and will doubtless be here again. We have a relationship with these developers, and where there's all goodwill on all sides, we just need to ask the hard questions, like what concretely are the workers of Chattanooga and Hamilton County going to benefit from if we give you this property, which I understand is a sort of albatross of the county, but we want to know in writing, like, how many jobs is this going to be? How many of them are going to be for local people? Are the people who are going to be getting these jobs local now, or are they going to be local at the time the job is granted? Like the people who are living in Hamilton County now are the people that y'all represent, the people that the Labor Council represents, the workers who need these jobs, who need the jobs doing the renovations, who need the job occupying the positions that this is going to create. And we deserve concrete numbers about how many jobs we can expect, how much investment in the construction and renovation, and what are the terms going to be for these jobs when they're created down the line. So thank you for your time. Please, as we're examining this question, take these questions to heart and pass them on to Mr. White and the development team. I think the public deserves a well, transparent process and to have some of these questions answered. Thank you very much for your time.
Sorry. 2 points real quick. Next week will be an opportunity for public comment on these. When the item comes before this body to be voted on, the public will have an opportunity to speak on that item specifically at that time.
Thank you.
Number one. Number two, you made the comment giving them the property. That is not taking place.
Fair enough.
This is a lease. They will be paying for it, just like any other building that we have that has anybody that rents from us. We're not giving them, and I didn't want that to go out there because it was said. We're not giving them the property.
Forgive the misspeaking, but yes, any public-private agreement, we hope these conditions will be brought forward. Thank you.
Commissioner Mack, did you have a
I
question?
do. This gentleman, he has questions about who's going to do this work. I'm going to ask him if he will help me get the questions together. We will pursue answers to get answers for you.
I'd be happy to, and I know there's other folks who want to contribute as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Commission. My name is Nathan Hsu, and I am the president of the Tri-State Musicians Union, the American Federation of Musicians, Local 80, and I'm also a member of the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, IATSE, Local 140. I live here in town in Hickson, District 3, and I am here to also speak on the Jailhouse Studios. During the initial presentations for the studios, it was said that Chattanooga is the perfect place for a film and music studio because they would not have to deal with the entertainment unions. Specifically, the Teamsters was mentioned. This means that they believe that Chattanooga is the perfect place because we have phenomenal talent here, and we do. This city is full of amazing creative artists. But their goal is to pay them less money. That's why they want to have this here and not in Atlanta or Nashville. It was specifically brought up that way. The county should not support the exploitation of the talented artists in this area. The film and music production in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia, uses union labor and has been a huge boon to the economy there. If the county and the studio commit to hiring through the entertainment unions, this will increase the amount of artists and workers that have a desire to continue living and working and paying taxes in the area. It also seems that quantum computing keeps being mentioned as a critical factor in this data center project, but this is a juxtaposition for the data center being only for music and film storage, leaving us to wonder what the actual purpose of this data center will be, and if it will be housing and creating AI that will attempt to replace the real human actors, artists, and musicians from our region. I strongly support having a film and music studio in Chattanooga. I think that would be amazing for my members, for the stagehands, for all of the creatives in the area. But it must be done in a way that supports the creative workers. Thank you very much.
My name is Noah Johnston. I live at 666 Charbel Street in Hickson, Tennessee. I know this isn't a dialogue. I do want to ask the question, if I may. Is there an opportunity for public comment during committee when specific items are brought? No, thank you. My wife authored a petition in opposition to this project that is circulated and gained quite a few signatures. It was presented to this body when this project first came forward. We are a little bit concerned by the time frame here because we haven't had a chance to look over the lease specifics to decide for ourselves if this is something that is truly financially sound for the future of Hamilton County and how it's going to benefit all of us as taxpaying citizens. I understand the benefit of leasing a building that's currently empty, but I just want to make sure long term that this is going to be a benefit, not an opportunity for exploitation and avoidance of tax payments by an organization that stands to profit greatly. So with all that being said, I just want to return to my point that we're concerned about the financial soundness of this. We don't actually have access to the lease agreement until after today, after it's presented to this body as it is about to be. And a week is not enough time for constituents who have full-time jobs to go through a lease agreement like that and decide amongst themselves in their organized capacity whether they agree with this or not, whether they need to present opposition to this or not. A week is simply just not enough time for a document like that. And we also know, based on the signees of the petition, that there is just, not just in Hamilton County, but nationwide general opposition to the very rapid integration of AI into our lives and the building of data centers in our communities. It seems like I see on the news all the time a different community showing up in opposition to AI data centers being introduced, and some of them are getting them shut down, and the people are very excited that their voices were heard. So we want more transparency around the additional proposed data centers that are part of this project. And we want more time to look over this lease and make sure that it is financially sound, in our opinion, as constituents, as organized constituents. And so we're asking that you all postpone this as long as you can. If it is as sweet of a deal as it sounds like it is, then I'm sure it's okay to postpone it for a little while. And I wanted to also say I'm sorry for my appearance. I had to come. 4 o'clock is actually not late enough for full-time workers also. So forgive my appearance here today.
Hey, Mr. Johnson, just so that you know, the lease is available for viewing either at the county attorney's office, or I believe she's got it available on the website as well, so you can get to that.
Okay, thank you. You bet.
Howdy, my name is Michaela Winter, and I live in District 8. And I've got 2 things for y'all today. The first one is that I heard a lot of fear around the conversation to move the meeting time. And I also heard some gentlemen speaking for concerns that I, as a woman, don't actually hold. And I don't know if the fear around moving the meeting time is fear of increased public participation, or if people are being serious, that they're concerned for female staff leaving this building after dark. But I worked downtown for many, many years as a bartender, and I found myself leaving work at 12 a.m., at 1 a.m. I had no issues. Believe it or not, contrary to what some may believe, this is 2026. Women can be outside of the house after dark. I don't think the city council staff, I don't think the school board staff who has their meetings late at night, I haven't heard any issues from them. So I just have a lot of questions about where that fear is coming from, and just want to name, as somebody who is a woman, it's not a fear that I share. And I think that the public has been extremely clear that it's time for evening meetings. It's time for the county to join the other public bodies in Hamilton County in the 21st century and holding meetings that are accessible to a wider variety of people. And I think that the more absurd the arguments become against this, the more it kind of underscores why we need to have later meeting times and more people in this room and involved in decision making. Which brings me to my second point. I'm really glad to hear that the lease agreement is available online. There's not a lot of information that actually is available on the county website. If you compare the city and the county website, the county does not have nearly as much information to arm constituents with to engage in decision making as the city, and I see that as a big problem. I also have observed over this data center conversation that it's interesting, it's turned into a server room. When there was some pushback on a data center, it's now a server room. And when we have asked about jobs, it's gone from creating hundreds of jobs to the opportunity for hundreds of jobs. And we just saw Novonix yesterday announce that they're going from a 180-acre expansion to an 18-acre expansion. We were promised thousands of jobs through that pilot agreement. And I think it's important when we start talking about hundreds of jobs to be really super clear about what that actually means. Projects without measurable deliverables are not something that I, as a taxpayer, can support. Thank you.
Jennifer Duval, Coulterville Road. On the issue of disrespect, many times I've stood up here to speak while some of you did not pay attention at all. You talked to each other, you hid behind folders. So when we talk about disrespect, let's make sure we're not disrespecting everybody, especially those of us that take their times from not going to church tonight, not cooking for youth group when some of the ladies need the help, not being there to cook the supper for my family because they depend on me to make supper. They're having frozen leftovers. So I may not have a day job, but I work all day long, every single day, fighting for what's right in District 1, which is very different from the District of Chattanooga's areas, East Brainerd, and the major cities, which those are great and convenient when you need them. I don't want to live in a city. I come from Florida. Name one state that's overdeveloped, where their road structure, infrastructures have been solved, where their overcrowded schools have been solved, where their crime has not gone up significantly with the influx of growth because they wanted that small town life and they don't have it anymore. I can't raise my family at home with family because our small town immediately became the new hotspot, a 15-minute city, if you will, a gated community within a community, and the rest of the community stinks because the sewer isn't kept up with. Okay? I'm transplanted here. But my husband's people go way back here. So we may not be multi-generational to Tennessee. He has multi-generational roots. But we're here because the quality of life back home does not sustain for my child to be with his grandparents and with his aunts and his uncles and his cousins and our family members. We're doing it here by ourselves. We fight for the farm because we live next to it. We bought because we never expected it would be sold. COVID changed everything. The Biden administration changed everything. We live in a completely different world. We realize AI is taking over many jobs. Fact. So I'm upset. I just want to say, name one state where overdevelopment has solved infrastructure, overcrowded schools, and quality of life, because they've all gone to pot. And it'll go to pot here if we're not careful. As far as our playground, we don't have playgrounds in Sill Creek, by the way. We don't have playgrounds. We have a small playground at North Hamilton County Elementary. We had to fundraise for walking tracks, and pretty much, well, I've wasted all my time on this because I'm upset about the whole disrespect comments, but we disrespect people that come up here. So that's okay. I forgive y'all. I forgive y'all. Alex Green with the Ray County Tourism was completely against McDonald Farm going to a state park. And as of February 16th, he agrees with Governor Bill's budget to make McDonald's Farm a state park. So all of Ray County is not laughing at us. I do disagree with you on that point. So sorry about that. Other topics.
Thank you,
We
Mrs.
don't have
Duval.
a clear direction on agriculture under Plan Hamilton. We need our own planning.
Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Jared Steinman. I live at 3109 East 31st Street in Eastlake, and I'm here to talk about the corrosion of trust in our law enforcement here in Chattanooga. I've worked for the last decade in immigrant communities, both as an educator and a social worker. I'm married into a mixed status immigrant family from Mexico, and I live, of course, in Eastlake, which is a largely immigrant neighborhood. I could go on for hours, but I know I've got a short time, so I'm going to list a couple of quick examples of things that I've experienced. The first one is received a call from a mother a number of years ago whose two sons and husband had been arrested. They were a Guatemalan family, and she could not locate her husband at the Hamilton County Jail. And so I called and spent a number of hours back and forth on the phone with officers at the jail, who also could not tell me where this person was arrested. After about 4 hours of this situation, finally got an officer to go down into the actual cell, and he said, came back and called me back and said, I put my eyes on the man, he's standing there, he's not in my system. And I said, how does this happen? He said, I don't know. Generally, if they don't have ID on them, we assume that they're undocumented, and just unacceptable policy, first of all. I've assisted a family where the mother was arrested for driving without a license, and her 3 U.S. citizen children, ages 14 and under, were left on the side of the road in the rain while her car was towed. I have encountered countless examples of women reporting domestic abuse and ending up in jail themselves because they were undocumented, as well as ending up in jail for reporting robberies at their homes and in their cars. So what this leads me to is, also a number of my own public records requests regarding specific incidents, as well as Hamilton County law enforcement policies, have gone ignored. I've never had a single public records request answered in the 10 years I've been doing this work. So what this leads me to is that there's a huge lack of trust in these communities for local law enforcement for good reason. Some examples of how that plays out. My own sister-in-law, who is in the lengthy and expensive legal process of sorting out her refugee status, has left her car abandoned on the side of the road after a punctured tire because she was afraid if a police officer stopped to help, she would end up going to jail despite being in the correct process. My students at places like Howard, Eastlake Academy, and Brainerd have all reported to me crimes that they've experienced, especially robbery at gunpoint in their neighborhoods and fights and abuse in their households. As a mandatory reporter, I've had to report things that they were terrified to report themselves because they didn't want the innocent members of their family to be arrested and deported. And I think the most important thing to understand that I don't know that a lot of people understand is that almost every immigrant family in our county is mixed status, meaning that there are both undocumented, resident, and citizen members of that family, and all of them are afraid to interact with local law enforcement.
My name is Nick Chuba. I'm the owner of Middle Valley Power Equipment, which is on 7710 Hickson Pike. Really not sure if I need to be speaking now or not, but we, in the previous meeting, we did accept the stipulations for the rezoning of the building on our property, which all of Hickson Pike is C2, and I own Middle Valley Power Equipment, which used to be the Blaylock Music and Blaylock Bait and Tack next to the Southern. And there was a garage, an independent garage standing by itself. And we are in the process of getting that converted to our maintenance shop because Middle Valley Power Equipment is a...
Mr. Schuett?
Yes.
You'll have an opportunity on that during zoning cases. That's why public comment is not for zoning, because during zoning cases, there's an applicant, an opposition, and a presentation from RPA.
Okay.
That's specific to zoning cases.
All
So
right.
you'll have an opportunity to present your case.
Okay, I'm
for
new
why
at all
you're-
this, so I didn't know.
Yeah, yeah. You'll have yeah, that's fine. I'm just telling you, you have an opportunity to discuss that.
Okay. So I was just gonna say that we do accept all the revisions to go forward with the rezoning of that.
We'll get to you today. We're going to go to committee where it's discussed in
So I gotta wait till.
in zoning. You will have to wait
Okay,
until committee
no
when it's
problem.
brought up.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good afternoon,
Afternoon.
Commissioners. I'm here again in opposition to the 287G agreement that Sheriff Garrett has entered with ICE.
Can you give us your name again? I'm sorry.
Yes, sorry, Jessica Alexander, and I'm District 4, 733 Battery Place. In recent meetings, I've noticed that a number of county commissioners have used their platform to applaud the sheriff's transparency and clarity in addressing our concerns. And of course, that's your prerogative, but I do want to be clear that these statements don't represent the sentiments of anyone I know who's shown up at these meetings horrified and outraged by what they've witnessed on a local and federal level. People are showing up because we know that ICE is dangerous, violent, and it brutalizes communities. We also know that the Trump administration is drastically expanding the 287G program to transform state and local law enforcement into a national deportation policing force. And this fuels racial profiling, civil rights violations, and widespread fear in communities. These agreements put our local resources in the service of federal efforts that are widely regarded as unlawful. I don't know anyone whose anger, fear, or grief has been assuaged by the sheriff's comments. On the contrary, many of our questions have not been adequately addressed. Under the 287G agreement, we're watching people get deported whose most serious conviction is a minor traffic violation, such as driving without a license. The sheriff has asserted that there is no racial profiling, but I still know of no mechanism, policy, or procedure to ensure that isn't happening. Last week, the sheriff presented his budget for 2027. He's been asked what the 287G agreement will cost local taxpayers. Despite a dramatic increase in the budget, the report, far from clarifying the cost of entering that agreement, obscured that cost. The ACLU just released a report about the disastrous impact 287G agreements have on local communities. In the event that local governments are legally required to enter such agreements, they advise them to adopt common sense good governance measures, including conducting legal liability and insurance assessments, financial impact evaluations, and staff and resource impact assessments. But it hasn't come to that just yet. You still have the power to resist. You can deny additional funding for the sheriff's office until Sheriff Garrett ends the 287G agreement, and I hope that you will. Thank you.
Demetrius Gladden, I live in District 9. I'm not afraid of any leaving late meetings. I'm not sure why our staff here would be also, but I invite anybody here today to come live in District 5 and 4. Come live and go to sleep to the gunshots that most of those communities that they have to deal with. However, I am concerned about the exceeding increase in our health indicators affecting our young people, Black people in particular, and our rural poor white people. We are exceedingly high compared to the Tennessee state overall in chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, HIV prevalence. These numbers show that we're surpassing the state in infectious diseases, and the trends are showing up most in high-risk communities, particularly in District 4, 5, parts of District 11, and as I stated, in the rural poor communities as well. Access is a real issue. Our county health department now closes at 4 o'clock, which means working families, students, and young people cannot easily access the testing, prevention services, or education. So I'm here merely just to ask, would the county commission consider funding a pilot clinic or health services access points inside our community centers, not just in the inner city, but also the one that's out in Harrison, and find some points that's in the rural area so community members can access these services that we're being with this high increase in these diseases. That's all I have. Please think about it, because we're trending, we're exceeding the number. We're past the whole state of Tennessee, our county, Hamilton County, Tennessee. We need to take a strong look at it. It ain't just affecting poor Black people, it's affecting our rural poor white people too.
Good to see you, Councilwoman. It was. All right, seeing nobody else for any further comment, and there's no other business, we will be adjourned until March 18th at 4 p.m. Brief break. And then a brief break. I can't even say that word. Freeze frame.